Hey everyone, it's Danny here, and I wanted to show off something a bit different that's new in React Native Storybook. So I've basically been experimenting with some of the other React Native platforms, and one thing that I found is that it's not always possible to use the libraries that you're used to for iOS and Android. And so what I've done is I've made a version of the Storybook UI for React Native that doesn't depend on anything like reanimated or SVG, or basically sticking almost completely just to the built-in React Native stuff. So what that means is I've also added this custom UI command like property that you can pass to the Storybook view function here. And basically what this does is, instead of loading the default UI, it will load this light version that should be more compatible with other platforms. And so what that enables us to do now is basically run this on something like React Native Macos. I mean, you can see that there's actually a couple of little issues here and there, but I'm pretty sure that with a little bit of tweaking here, we could make it work. And I think part of the problem here is just that maybe the UI is a bit squished in. There's maybe not enough space or something like that. But basically, it's working. I've had one or two crashes, but I think that might have been just me not understanding how this works. So yeah, it basically looks like it's working. And all I did here was I ran npm create storybook, and then I just came in here and installed this package, which is React Native UI Lite. And in theory, you could actually remove all of these dependencies here. There's SVG, reanimated, gesture handler, and even Gorham's bottom sheet, which I really love using for mobile. And I think it should work for other platforms as well, but just to make it simpler, yeah, you could remove all of these basically, and it will work. But the problem is that some of these other platforms don't support like optional requires, and Expo, you could actually optionally require something, and all that means is like you try to require something, and then if it fails, like require doesn't exist or something, like whatever the package name is. And then in Expo, and I think in the newer versions of React Native, this will actually just recover and be fine. But in, I think, older versions of React Native and some platforms, that won't work. So right now you still have to have the packages installed unless you're using Expo, the latest Expo. And if you are using the latest Expo and you don't want to install these dependencies, you can just then use the light version of the UI. And so the only thing this doesn't apply to is the controls. So the controls add-on, I haven't worked on making that, low dependency yet, but I think there's a possibility of doing that in the future. And if you're not using any of the controls that don't support it, then basically you probably won't notice anything. So for example, I actually have some controls running here, but that's just a text input, so it's easier to make that work. Anyway, this is just something I wanted to show because it's pretty cool now that you can actually get this to work on macOS. And I assume probably Windows as well, but I don't want to boot up my Windows computer right now. Anyway, thanks for listening, and let me know what you think. Thanks.